understand the nuances of what goes on in the wires. And so I'm not confident that tech-illiterate leaders can lead effectively in the digital age. We need people who understand this, even at a basic level, so they can make good decisions for our future.
Testify.
Over the last few decades, countries around the world have been
These idiots do not manage.
how they should act when conducting.
They shouldn't be the gods and the managers. They shouldn't
US doing things like developing exploits,
run this shit into the ground.
Nuclear enrichment facilities, only to deny that they had any involvement with it. That's what other countries
2 days, 10 hours.
and follow and do too. Nations around the world now are acting like there's no consequence for hacking into foreign nations or companies or people. They'll develop or buy exploits to use and keep them extremely secret. And I don't know, when the world is connected in the way it is now, it just seems like we're all headed for a major catastrophic digital disaster. And that kind of thing freaks me out sometimes. So I think I'll sign off here and go make another backup of my digital life and store it in a Faraday cage and bury it underground somewhere.
It was good. Yeah, I'd like to thank you for Jack Weissider for the excellent content for my stream. I'd like to sub to your channel. Never answer your phone. Secret Service and forensics investigation. That's funny. The penetration test went terribly wrong. Let's do all of them slowly, but yeah, there's no ways for him to protect your phone from zero click. There to snoop a target, but something felt wrong. That one doesn't interest me. Took control of his phone in his life with a single text message. One more reason to never answer your phone. Small town hack became a secret server forensics. Let's look at this one.
Whenever we have a computer problem that we
Thank you, Jack Weissider, for the excellent content for my stream. I would like to sub to your channel. Really good podcast. Fucking sweet. So here we go. We're gonna go. I don't need to put it in the background. It's a podcast, so whatever. We'll keep it off the screen.
Troubleshoot. We often want to know why that was a problem. How did it break? And you know what? Sometimes you never get a good answer. One time when I was at work, a router suddenly crashed. The internet was down for that office, and my teammate jumped on the problem to try to figure out what was going on. A few minutes later, the router was back up and online and was working fine, all on its own. This router crashed and rebooted. But why? My teammate wanted to know, so he began a forensic analysis. He looked at the environmental data before the crash. It was not showing high CPU or memory. It did not have a heavy amount of traffic going over it either. So this wasn't an overutilization issue. Next, he grabbed 4 dumps, memory snapshots of what was present at the time of the crash, and he sent that to the manufacturer of the router to see if they could figure it out. A few days later, the manufacturer told us they analyzed the core dumps and said the reason for the crash was spurious emissions from space. Spurious emissions from space. That's what caused this router to crash. What the heck is that? Are they saying an asteroid hit this thing? We looked into this further, and apparently there are cosmic rays that are constantly bombarding Earth, and sometimes they can come down, pass right through the roof, right on through the outer chassis of the router, and go right through the circuit board of the router, which can cause a slight electromagnetic change in the circuitry, just enough to make a bit flip from a 0 to a 1 or a 1 to a 0. And if the wrong bit flips, it could cause the device to malfunction and crash. Cosmic rays can cause this, which is incredible that that's even possible. But really, I thought this manufacturer was just using this as some kind of excuse because they can't prove that cosmic rays did this. So in my opinion, it meant that we'll never know what caused this router to crash. And it'll always be a mystery. And I wonder how many mysterious things happen to computers that are caused by cosmic rays. These are true stories from the dark side of the internet. I'm Jack Weissider. This is Darknet Diaries. Nicole Beckwith started out with a strong interest in computers and IT. She studied and learned how to be a programmer, among other things. But somehow, at some point of her career, she decided she wanted to be a cop.
I am a former state police officer and federally sworn U.S. Marshal. I worked as a financial fraud investigator and a digital forensic examiner for the state of Ohio.
Now, while she was serving as a police officer, she would see cases where hacking or digital harassment was involved. And these were cases that interested her the most.
My background is in computers and computer programming. And so because of my background, I started taking all those pieces.
Now, because the internet connects us all together, she'd often be investigating a case and find out that the suspect is in another state. So this would often mean that the case would turn into a federal investigation, where it landed in the hands of the FBI or Department of Homeland Security, or even the Secret Service. So these cases that started out at her police department sometimes get handed over to one of these other federal units.
And so the Secret Service kept seeing my name at all these reports. And one day I got a call sitting at my desk from the Secret Service, which I can tell you, even as an officer, is kind of daunting, right? To get a phone call and the agent on the other line is like, "Hi, I'm from the Secret Service." Like, oh gosh, what did I do? So they're like, "Yeah, we keep seeing your name, pop up on these cases. We'd really like to talk to you." And so I went in, it actually was just across the street from my office at the state. And went and met with them and told them my background and explained, that I love computers and, that's a hobby of mine and I like to work on, all kinds of projects. And so they said, "That's awesome. How would you like to work for us? As a task force officer, we will send you to training, we'll pay for everything, and we just want you to help with any of the cases that we get." So, of course, I jumped at the opportunity and they swore me in as a task force officer for their financial and electronic crimes division.
Task force officer for the Secret Service? That sounds pretty badass.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So Secret Service, that's who protects the president, right?
Correct, yeah. Yeah, so most people don't know, in addition to their everyday duties in protecting the president and foreign dignitaries and other public servants and politicians, they actually are staffed with or assigned to investigate financial and electronic crimes, including cybercrime.
And that's where they wanted her to focus, investigating cybercrime cases for the Secret Service. But before she could start investigating cases, they had to give her some training and teach her how to do digital forensics like the Secret Service knows how.
I got, a whole host of different trainings. So it started out, with the basics. So you go through basic digital forensics, dead box forensics, and then they work up to network investigations, and then network intrusions, and virtual currency investigations. And so all in all, I think I did 7 different trainings, roughly 18 months worth off and on, going back and forth from home to Hoover, Alabama. Then was able to investigate all these cases. So it was like drinking from a fire hose. So these training courses could vary from 1 week to 5 weeks in length. And it was very intensive, sun up to sundown. You're doing extra work at night in your hotel room, and you still have to keep learning when you go back. Obviously, it's not enough, as we all know in this field. So you have to keep learning.
She worked a lot with the Secret Service, investigating different cyber crimes. Her training took her to another level, but then the experience of doing digital forensics gave her more insight and wisdom. Then one day, about 7 years into doing digital forensics work, she saw some news that a police station in her jurisdiction was hit with ransomware. Like, all the computers in the police department were no longer functioning.
It was ransomware across the entire network. So It took down the patrol vehicles. It took down the entire police department.
Good job.
And I'm told also some of
Yeah,
the
don't fuck with a
city
hacker, bitch.
laptops, because they ended up being connected in a few different places. We didn't take the entire city down, but at least the entire police department.
She called them up as a courtesy to see if they needed any help.
So for this story I'm going to tell, I was in my role as a task force officer for the Secret Service. As such, like I said, I was called out to respond to cyber incidents. And so I do want to do a quick disclaimer of, what I discussed in this episode is either publicly available information or I received prior approval to discuss this. So I do want to get that out there. So as a little bit of backstory and to set the stage a bit, this is a small size city, so approximately 28,000 residents, 10 square miles. So not a huge city, but big enough that a ransomware incident would take them down. So I'm already aware of this agency because it's in my jurisdiction. So we had reached out when they were hit to offer any assistance. We were told that they had it handled.
The IT team at this police department was doing daily backups of all their systems in the network, so they never even considered paying the ransom. They knew they could just restore from backup and everything would be fine again, because that's a great way to mitigate the threat of ransomware.
As a lot of us know, you always have to make sure that your backups are good, and they did not test their backups prior to deploying them, so they simply restored the system from backup, checked the box, and said, we're good.
Something happened months earlier, which meant their backups weren't actually working. The latest backup they had was from 10 months ago. It's a really frustrating thing to realize. But by the time they had figured that out, they had already restored a bunch of their systems already. The network was back up and online. So they just went with it like that. It wasn't the best restore, but it allowed people to get up and working fairly quickly. They just had to re-enter in all that stuff in the last 10 months back into the systems again.
So during the conversation, I'm asking if they need assistance. They're explaining to me that IT has it. When I'm probing them for a little bit more details, like, hey, do you know what happened? Like, did somebody click on a phishing email? Like, do you understand the attack vector on this? They're saying, no, all we know is that morning our printers went down, and then the next thing we know, all of our computers were down. And so that was pretty much all that they could tell me.
So time passes. How much time passes?
A week.
Okay. So
You're right.
yeah, okay. So a week later, what happens?
So a week later, I just happened to be on the phone with the lieutenant on an unrelated matter. And he paused and he said, oh, crap, our printers are down again. And I said, wait, isn't that what happened the first time you guys were hit? And it happened to be the same exact day, so Friday to Friday. And he said, yeah, actually, this is exactly what happened that morning.
Oh, yeah,
okay,
level 12.
Stop everything. Don't touch a thing. Let's triage this. Let's grab some evidence if we can. Can I please come help you? And so he's like, yes, please, we would love the assistance. When can you be here?
4 hours and 20 minutes.
I always have a go bag in my car. I did happen to be at my office that morning, but I always have a go bag in my car. So I know that any given time, if I need to jump in my car and respond, if I'm at home or wherever, that I have all of my essentials in my car.
Well, hang on now. When I hear go bag, I think 72 hours of food and water and some band-aids. What's in your go bag, though?
Yeah, so in my go bag, I have a whole bunch of other of things, including, food and clothes and all of that you just mentioned. But I have, what we call a toaster. So a toaster is a hard drive or a SATA dock that you can, plug a hard drive into and do imaging or whatever. I have hordes of USB drives and CDs with all sorts of mobile triage and analysis software, such as Paladin, Volatility, password cracking, mobile apps. I have several hard drives for evidence collection, both SATA and external. And then I always had a box of cables and adapters, tools, just in case I needed to take a computer apart. So, screwdrivers and stuff. A mouse and a keyboard, obviously, because you never know what kind of system you're going to encounter. And sometimes, like you mentioned, most folks forget that you might be at an incident for quite some time. So I always had non-perishable food items ready. So I always had bottles of water and granola bars or energy bars, change of clothes, bath wipes, deodorant, other hygiene items, all of those things, of course. And then on top of that, for forensics, I would also include my ViviTech Ditto machine for imaging. I also had 2 triage laptops, so both a Mac and a PC. And then, of course, gloves after a really bad scare once where I thought I had gotten into something nasty on a computer. I learned to wear gloves no matter what type of case I was working.
Dang, that's a pretty awesome sounding go bag, packed full of tools and items to help go on site and quickly get to work. So she grabs this thing and jumps in her car and starts driving to the police department. But on the way, she starts making tons of phone calls.
Oh yeah, so the drive over, I'm immediately, on the phone getting permission from all sorts of people to even be at this police department. So I'm, making sure the police department is okay with it, getting permission from the police chief, from the city manager, the mayor, my director and my chief at the state, as well as the resident agent in charge or my boss at the Secret Service. Because there is a lot of red tape that you have to work through in order to even lay hands on a system to start an investigation. So you have to have all those bases covered. So I'm making a lot of phone calls. I'm also working to make sure that there's a systems administrator there to give me access to the servers, login details, making sure I have access to the room to even get to the server. As a police department, so a badge to get in and out of rooms. Or at least an escort to allow me to get in and out of places that I need to get to. I'm also calling a secondary agent and backup for me. I don't ever want to be the only person there. You always want to have a second person with you for a number of reasons. But
It's funny though, because you're calling for backup to go to the police department. Like there's enough officers there to back you up, aren't there?
Right. Yeah, not necessarily backup for physical security, although, in this case, maybe I wasn't worried about it, but in other cases, maybe I am, right? Maybe I'm responding to some place where the hostile actor is actually an internal person. And, you don't ever want to be with your back against, a door or somewhere where you can be ambushed. And so even in incident response, you have to worry about your physical security. So in this case, backup just for the forensics, but in some cases I am asking for backup for physical security as well.
She also keeps questioning herself. Is all this even worth the fuss? So far, the only problem reported were that printers were not working, and you don't deploy the Secret Service to go on site just to fix printers. So maybe she's just way overthinking this whole thing, and she'll get there and it's just a false alarm. But it didn't matter. She's already invested and wants to check on it just in case. Okay, so this is how I picture it. You're arriving in your car, you've got your go bag in your hand, you've got the curly earpiece that all the Secret Service agents use, your aviator sunglasses, and you're just busting in the front door.
Exactly. Picture like Laura Croft with like cyber stuff. Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah, no, probably not. Yeah, I like to think that, but I'm sure that's not how I actually looked. So yeah, no, I'm arriving, I'm grabbing, all this stuff out of the trunk of my car. Meeting the lieutenant and the chief and kind of doing a data dump on, hey, what's happened since I talked to you last. Letting all of my other bosses know I've, arrived on scene and I'm going to start.
She knows she needs access to the computers in the building, and the best way to get into the computers is to have someone from IT help you with that. Well, since this was a small agency, the IT team was just one person. One guy was running all the computers in this place.
And so, I'm on the phone with him, when I first get there. I'm also trying to figure out, where is the server actually located, which in this case is way back in the back of the building. We walk in, it's kind of like a garage or a storage place, I guess. dark bicycles and boxes and just everything that they didn't want in the police department, back in this room. Cables and just all sorts of things all over the place. The server's kind of sitting, like, not in the middle of the room, but kind of away from the wall. So just picture wires and stuff all over the place. It's a little bit messy, so a little bit concerned there.
She finds the server, but then starts asking more questions. Is there anyone else who manages these computers? Yes, they outsourced some of the computer management to another company. They had another company do updates to the computers and do security monitoring. But they were more reactive, not very proactive at handling security incidents. So you go into the back, you're on the phone to local IT admin, you're trying to figure out what's going on. What system do you try to get into first?
So they had their main server, which had multiple VMs on it. But I'm just getting into the main production server. What I thought was just a server for the police department. Turns out it actually housed a couple other applications for the city, but at least everything for the police department. And so when I'm initially responding, I'm looking at the server, getting the login information from the lieutenant, successfully log in. Now, in this case, normally when you're responding to a case like this, you're trying as hard as possible not to leave a digital footprint. You're being really careful about what you touch. You don't want to alter the data. This case was a little different because of the ransomware in the past, and knowing that as soon as they lost their printers, it was within like an hour that the ransomware was deployed. So I didn't know how much time I had before what I assumed was going to be ransomware was likely deployed again. So I was trying to hurry and capture whatever I could for forensics right away before something went down. So I log into the server. I immediately start dumping the memory. So volatility is one of my hands down favorite tools to use. So I'm doing dumps of data on volatility. I'm pulling reports, dumping that to a USB drive. I also, once that is running, I wanted to grab network traffic. And so, I started Wireshark up and I'm dumping network traffic to a USB also.
Okay, so Volatility and Wireshark, let's jump into these tools for a second because I think they're really cool. Volatility is an open source free tool which is used in digital forensics. So step one is she's got to get into that domain controller, which is like the central brain of the network, and take a snapshot of the memory, which is what's in RAM. Because whatever data is in memory is what's being ran right now, and it changes moment to moment. Now, this can take a while to complete. You've got to sit there waiting for all the memory to be copied over to the USB drive, but it's more than just whatever memory is active in RAM. It's also going to show what processes are running, what apps are open, the names of all the files on the systems, the registry, network connections, users logged in, and system logs. Once she has this raw dump of everything on her USB drive, she'll switch the USB drive over to her computer to begin analyzing everything. Are there any suspicious programs running? What connections are active? And what activity are the users doing right now? But depending on how big these snapshots are, each of these questions can take a while to get answers to. So it's a slow process to do all this. In the meantime, she fires up Wireshark, which is a packet capture tool. Any traffic coming in and out of this domain server is captured to be analyzed later. Basically, by capturing all traffic to and from this computer, she'll be able to capture any malware that's been sent to it, or malicious commands, or suspicious activity. As you can imagine, though, capturing all network traffic is a lot of stuff to process. You're basically looking at a beach full of sand and trying to figure out that one grain of sand that shouldn't be there. It's hard to narrow down all the packets to find just what you need. It takes a long time. But it's better to capture it now because nothing else will, and it's good to have something to go back to and look at just in case. Now, what really was fortunate for her was that she got there early enough and set up quickly enough that no ransomware had been activated yet. But she had all her listeners open and ready in case something did happen. And while while all that's going on, she's poking around in the server looking for anything out of the ordinary, and she finds something.
So, after I've run all of the quick stuff with volatility, I'm analyzing that really quickly to see, what accounts are active, who's logged in, are there any accounts that are rogue, and I immediately see another active logged in account.
Another system admin was logged into this server at the same time she was. She asked the IT guy, "Are you also logged into this server?" He said, "No." She asked, "Do you think that company that manages the network is logged into this server?" He checks with them and says, "Nope, nobody is logged into our servers right now." She gets up and starts asking around the station.
So I'm asking, police chief, I'm asking police lieutenant, who else has access to this? And they're like, no, nobody should be logged in except for you. Like, there's only one access. So, my heart sinks at that point.
It wasn't just one other active user either. There were a few other people logged into this domain controller as admin right now. She's baffled as to why and starts to think maybe she's just got there fast enough to actually catch this hacker mid-hack.
Yeah, so for somebody that has complete admin access, as a couple of these folks did, they potentially have access to everything that's on this server. So because this is a police department, you have case files and reports. You have access to public information like CII, so social security numbers and birth dates and driver's license, and sensitive information about cases, as well as a whole host of other things that a police department is overseeing, right? So you're looking at officers and officers' security and their names, and information and email addresses. So there's a whole lot of things that they had access to when you're admin on a police department server.
At this point, she knows for sure whoever is logged into this server should not be there. It's crazy because even as a seasoned incident responder like Nicole, it can still affect you emotionally.
Because your heart sinks when you see that. You kind of get that adrenaline pumping, and you see that this isn't a false positive, like because going over there, I'm wondering, right? Like, okay, so their printers went down. Is this another potential ransomware incident? And so that was the moment when your heart starts beating a little bit faster, and you know that there actually is something to this.
It's clear to her that she needs to kick the admins out immediately. But another thought comes into her head.
So right now, as I'm seeing the logins, I have to weigh in my head to leave them logged in and potentially, allow them to, do additional harm, or do I immediately revoke them?
Because her tools are still trying to finish the
turn my lights off.
If she kicked out the hacker, that might cause her tools to miss the information
I'm gonna go turn my lights off
to prove what's going on. As a digital forensics investigator, it's not often you're in this situation. Usually you're called in months after the fact to figure out what happened. Trying to both figure out what happened and fight off an active intruder is just on another level. She checks the status of her volatility tool, and it's almost done collecting what she needs. So she just waits for it to finish, but the wait is killing her.
Right, yeah. So, of course, I'm just letting Wireshark run. But then volatility, like there's a whole host of scripts and data points that I want dumped. And as soon as that finishes, then I'm immediately like, all right, you're done, out. Click, revoking access. So as soon as you kick that person out of the system, you breathe a very faint sigh of relief, right? Because you have a lot of unknowns. But at least you know that one big threat is eliminated for the moment. Because of the fact that we weren't sure what the intrusion vector was at that point, like how they initially got in, I'm also changing the password of the supposed admin, the person who's supposed to have access. So I'm changing his password as well, right? Because I don't know if that's how they initially got in. So I'm resetting that. And then I'm going to go back in and grab all the other stuff that I need to grab, doing images and whatnot.
She swivels around in her chair, moving the USB stick from the domain controller to her laptop to start analyzing it, then swivels back to the domain controller to look for more stuff. She's collecting data and analyzing it, but she knows she needs more data. And that's when she calls up the company that's supposed to be monitoring the security for this network.
Wanted to make contact at that point. Now that I had what I needed, I didn't want the IT contractor to immediately start, restoring from backup or doing, something that would destroy my evidence. So now I'm on the phone with them, and I'm wanting to make sure that, they had backups, that they're currently running a backup just in case, asking them, what data they had, like could they, give me logs, could they see the initial access points, basically asking them to send me anything that they could in the logs that could potentially help me with this case.
And how did they respond to you? Were they friendly and nice?
No, they were a little upset that I was there and hadn't called them. They were upset with the police department. But then we had to explain, like, look, we got permission from the mayor. We got permission from, the police department. So they wanted us to come in. This is a law enforcement investigation at this point. And so I need your cooperation.
They were upset because they were supposed to be the first contact if something happened. And they were just learning now that all this happened, that the printers went down, that there were unauthorized admins accessing the network, and that the Secret Service is there on site doing an investigation. I can see why they're upset, but professionally, there's no time for that. If your job is to help your client be safe, oh well, if you weren't the first to be called. Your help is needed now, so let's get to work now. She kindly asked them, please send me the logs you captured.
In addition to logs, I had asked them if from the prior incident they had saved a variant or a file of malware, if they were able to find, ransom letter, what they had that they could potentially hand over to me in addition to that, so that we could, kind of see what strain of malware it was, if we could do, soft attribution on it, based on that. If there were any other details that we could glean from prior evidence.
But they're still upset on how this incident is being handled.
Right, yeah, so they didn't want to hand over the logs and the data.
This is kind of infuriating to me. The police department is paying this company to monitor their network for security incidents, and they didn't want to cooperate with the Secret Service on this because they felt the incident wasn't being handled the way they wanted it to be handled. I guess maybe they felt threatened or pressured, or maybe embarrassed that they didn't catch this themselves or solve it themselves. By this point, they had internal investigators working on this, and I imagine they felt like their work was being undermined. But from my point of view, they completely failed the police department on that first incident. That was their chance to shine, and they missed it. I guess they didn't want to fail again, though, and wanted to show how they can fix it fast this time. And Nicole was just screwing up their plans. But she kept asking them to send her data on the previous incident.
They did end up saying that they had saved a file that was a paint.exe file for the original malware, and had saved a text file for the ransomware that was the ransom note.
Well, that's something for her at least to look at. Every little bit helps to build a complete picture of what happened and what could happen in this incident.
As I'm analyzing, all of the data that I had collected in the evidence, I ended up seeing that there was an external IP address that had been logged in at that time.
What she realized was this police station's domain controller was accessible from the internet over remote desktop. The brains of the network was accessible from anywhere in the world without a VPN. You just needed the username and password to get into this thing, or if you had an exploit for this version of Windows. But this is a bad design. This system should not be accessible from the internet. Ideally, you should be on site at the police department to get into this system. But if you really need someone to get into this remotely, you should probably set up a VPN for admins to connect to first and then get into this. Having a system running remote desktop right on the internet just attracts a ton of people to try to abuse the system. And so she's seeing all these external public IPs that just keep logging into this system. And she's kicking them out one by one, but she's realizing this has to stop.
So with this, I politely asked them, I need you to turn off all external access. Like, how are these people getting in? Like, take down remote access from this server. Like, there's no reason for it. They refused to do it. So, I made the request. They just basically said, sure, whatever. I think it was a day later that I checked and it still was not taken care of. And so at that point, I went right to their office, showed up to the office, knocked on the door, asked for the person that I was, working with, and stood in front of his desk and just told him, like, you're gonna lock this down right now. And, it wasn't nice, and I don't have to do that very often, but, I stood in front of his computer until he locked it down.
Whoa. It's crazy to think that this IT company had to have this secret service explain the dangers of why this is a problem. And Nicole is right, this should not be allowed. But I've personally tried to convince people to turn this off before myself. And what I've been told is, like, it's required because certain tools and systems needed to be open for things to work, and you'll break things if you turn it off. Something about legacy equipment too. Yeah, well, that might have been true. Even in this case, certain vendors or apps might have no longer worked if you turn that off. And I just think vendors that require this are dumb, because the consequences of having your domain controller hacked is far greater than your app going down. In this case, the police department was hit with ransomware because this system was accessible from the internet, which caused 10 months of lost work. And it would have been hit again if it wasn't for Nicole's quick reactions. So she was happy that they finally turned off public access to this computer and left.
So after this conversation with the security contractor, I go back and do an analysis.
She tries to figure out more about who was logged in as an admin at the same time as her. Looking through the logs and data she collected, she looks at the IP address of the user, which is sort of a digital address. Obviously they connected from a public IP, and she had that, but then from there she did a geo IP lookup to see where this IP address may be located physically in the world. And when she looked at that, the IP was in the exact same town as where this police department was. That's interesting. A local person did this?
So I write a search warrant to the ISP asking for who this IP address comes back to.
So what law enforcement can do is issue a search warrant to the ISP to figure out what user was assigned that public IP at the time. But this takes a while, a few days, maybe weeks. And so in that time, she starts thinking about why someone locally in this town might want to hack into the police department's computers.
So for me, I'm thinking that it's somebody local that has a beef with the police department. Maybe a suspect, or there's a case, or got pulled over, or a whole host of things are running through my head at this point.
Stay with us, because after the break, things don't go as planned. Okay, so at this point, she's analyzed the system pretty well and found that this user did upload some malware, and looks like they were staging it to infect the network with ransomware again, which means this was an actual and serious attack that she was able to intercept and neutralize before it had a chance to detonate. On top of that, she's traced this hacker to come from a person who's local to the city where this police department was, and issued a search warrant to the ISP to figure out exactly who was assigned that IP. She gets the documents back from the ISP and opens it to see.
So when I see the address and the person that is connected to the search warrant, I'm a little bit baffled. I'm shocked and concerned. Not
Is
really
the admin
fully understanding what I'm looking at. Confusion comes into play there. So a roller coaster of emotions are going through my head when I'm seeing who it's tied back to.
Why?
Because it came back to the mayor of the city.
Whoa. The mayor of the city is who hacked into the computer and planted malware on it and was about to detonate it to take the police department's network down again?
Correct.
What?
So at this point, I'm running scenarios in my head as to why in the world a mayor would be connected to the server. And doing reconnaissance on this case and looking at some of the past cases and just knowing the city and wondering who could potentially have an issue with the police department, I did run across some information that suggested that the mayor of the city may have taken an issue with the police department because he was actually previously, prior to becoming mayor, arrested by this police department. And so having that in the back of my head, of course you're wondering, why is this person logged in? And then he does have motive to be upset with the police department. So you're running through a lot of things. You're told you shouldn't make snap judgments. Obviously, in police work, you never want to do that, right? But you're still going to think through the theories and the thoughts. You're going to have these thoughts, and things are going to pop into your head. And so you have to look at every possible scenario because you don't want to be blindsided or put yourself into a potentially a bad situation. And so, armed with this information, obviously I have to make my leadership aware. And so, I'm talking to the agent in charge and I'm talking to, my bosses and just letting them know, hey, this is what I'm seeing. Like, we really need to go have a conversation with the mayor, sort this out, figure out why he's logged into this computer at this time. So we ended up setting up a meeting with the mayor.
So on your way to meet with the mayor, how are you going to, you've got a couple ways of doing this. Are you going to get your backup to distract him while you grab his computer off his desk? Or are you going to do bad cop, good cop and sit him down and say, we know what you've been up to and we can make this easy or hard? What's your strategy of confronting the mayor here?
Right. So, I'm not the beat around the bush type of person. So I'm very direct, typically, and especially when I'm doing an interview or an interrogation. I tried good cop, bad cop with a not very scary person, so that doesn't work very well unless I'm the good cop. And so we go meet with the mayor, and I start the conversation, and he's like, "Oh, can you give me an update?" And so I'm just walking through and I'm like, yeah, so, we did the search warrant. We see there's a local IP address that's, on the network at this time. And we really need to talk to you about this because it's coming back to you.
She shows him the date and times when someone logged into the police department. He says, no way, it couldn't have been me because I was at work in the mayor's office at the time. And this alibi checks out because people did see him in the office then.
And so obviously we're asking, do you have kids? Do you have somebody else staying at your house? Is there, additional people that have access to your computer or these credentials that, would be able to access this server? And he's saying, no, that he should be the only one with access to this server.
At this point, Nicole is doing more mental gymnastics to try to figure out how and why. How did the mayor's home computer connect to the police department's server at that time? It's possible he's lying, was either home that day or had some kind of remote access connection to his home computer and then connected in. But if he's going to do something bad against the police department, he'd probably want to hide his tracks and not do it from his home computer. If he's savvy enough to do remote connections and hack into things, then he would know he needed to hide his tracks better, right? So she believes him, but is hesitant. She looks at her boss, who's also in the room, and then back to the mayor, and asks him another question. Well, have you ever used your home computer to log into the police department's server before? And he says,
yeah, I was probably logging in to check my mail, my email. I'm, again, completely floored at this point. You're not quite understanding what just came out of his mouth, right? And so I reiterate, okay, you're logging in from your house to the police department's domain server to check your email. He's like, oh yeah, we all do it. Every one of us. And I'm like, what do you mean we all? Who is we all? Because then I'm really starting to get concerned, right? And he says, well, I do, the city council does. Like, yeah, whenever we're working from home or we're remote, we just, and we're not in front of our computer, we just, log into the server and check our email. And I'm thinking, okay. He said, what are your credentials to log in? Do you have separate email address, password, like it's set up for every person? Like, am I going to see, multiple accounts logging in? And he's like, oh no, we all have the admin credentials. They're all the same. Like, all of us log in. We just, check whatever email we want.
Apparently, what him and others were doing were logging into this server through remote desktop and then using this computer to log into their webmail to check email?
Correct. Yep. So admin credentials to this server, to RDPN, and then they're checking their email. And I've seen a lot of stuff in my life, but that takes the cake. And so I just look at my boss and shake my head, because at that point, I don't really know what to say. And we're just like, all right, thank you for your time.
This threw a monkey wrench in all of her hunches and theories. The network was not set up right. For whatever reason, someone decided that it was too much of a risk to have the webmail server exposed to the internet for people to log into, but thought it was perfectly fine to have the domain controller exposed to the internet for people to log into instead. Not only that, but to have them log in as admins, which means they have full permission to change anything they want or do whatever they want in the network. Like, for instance, with domain admin access, the mayor could easily read anyone's email, not just his. He could sabotage users, like change their passwords or delete records. Admins have full control of everything. And the thing is, the domain server is not something the user should ever log into. There's just nothing there to help them be productive. It's not where files are stored or even emails. This server does behind-the-scenes work, authorizing and authenticating connections, among other stuff. And again, in this case, the mayor wasn't accessing emails that were on this server. He was getting on this server and then using a browser to access emails on another server. It's just silly. So Nicole packs up and leaves the mayor's office with more questions now than before she arrived. She calls up the security monitoring company to ask them for more information.
I have a conversation with the security vendor and say, look, can you give me a list of all of the admins that have access to this computer? Either with you or with the city or anybody like pull up on your computer, who has access to this computer, this server. And so they give me a list, and there are actually several people on this list. The mayor being one of them, and all of the city council secretaries. There's a whole host of people that have access to this server.
And what's more is that some of these people are sharing their admin logins with others. So like if the city council member has a secretary, sure, go ahead, give the secretary this admin login so they can check their email too. And this is a personal pet peeve of mine. I hate it when admin logins are shared, because when you have multiple people logged into one account, you have no idea which person is doing stuff. Is it the secretary that just logged in? The city council member? The mayor? Nobody knows. Which is horrible when you're trying to account for what's going on in your network. She then told the IT company what to do.
And so, again, immediately it's, obviously you shut that down. I want you to delete those credentials and reset, all the credentials for the server.
Of course, the IT company did not like this idea, since it meant that city council members and everyone couldn't check their email remotely anymore. But the network obviously needed to be redesigned badly. But Nicole still had this mystery. Who the hell logged into the police station from the mayor's home? Well, they asked the mayor if they could investigate his home PC, and he said yes. But it was around this time when Nicole moved on to another case and someone else took over that investigation. But she did follow up to see what happened.
Yeah, I did
Nice,
hear
there was
after
10
the
silver.
fact that they were able to find a phishing email. There was credentials stolen. There was somebody in the mayor's computer that ended up, gaining access to the server through the mayor's home computer.
Someone sent the mayor a phishing email. He clicked it. This gave the attacker remote access to his computer. The attacker put a keystroke logger on the computer and watched what the mayor did. The mayor went and logged into the police department's computer to check his email, and the attacker saw all this, including his password he typed. From there, the attacker logged into the police station, and that's how the police station got infected with ransomware the first time and almost a second time. The investigators were able to see whoever hacked into the mayor's computer was coming from somewhere in Europe, but they didn't track this down any further. That would just cost more time and money and probably wouldn't result in anything. So there's this practice in IT security of giving your users least privilege. Just give them the minimum necessary rights to do what they need to do, and maybe only give them the rights for a short duration, because this severely limits what a potential attacker can do. When you give someone full admin rights, it really opens up the attack surface. And people can make mistakes too. Like maybe they accidentally shut down the domain server because they can as admin. Another thing to watch out for is when actual admins use their admin logins for non-admin things. Admins should only use their admin accounts to do admin type things. They shouldn't be logging in from home as admin just to check their email. What did the police department do after this as far as changing their posture on the network or
as a reward for your service?
Yes, they did a lot. They ended up firing the security vendor.
Son
that
of
they were
a
using.
bitch.
They hired a new security vendor, which has been fabulous. They
Damn it.
ended up,
At least I'm gonna
choosing
get
a
like
virus
5 of it back.
protection,
That's okay.
Software. They completely wiped all of the
there's
computers
more?
one by one, especially those in the patrol vehicles. Upgraded those to new operating systems. They
Greetings, young rogue. What do you see?
started being more vigilant about restricting the permissions that were given to staff for certain things. Reinstalled their VPN, thankfully, and had no network lag there. They changed and updated all the passwords. So there was a lot that they did after the fact. And my understanding is, that's a process, because it costs so much money, and obviously it's a government agency, budgets only allow for certain things at certain times, but this was a process over time. I'm sure that they're continuing to work on that, but they did quite a bit right away.
Yeah, a redesign like this does cost money. But they had their hand forced because the Attorney General found out about
the
these
symptom
security
of the
incidents
Timberling's
and was
disease.
not
They are
happy.
filled with a
The
poison that we
Attorney
must cleanse from our new
General revoked the police
land.
department's
I have
access
just
to
received
the Gateway Network.
The Gateway Network is how this police department gets access to suspect information, how we run, suspects, how we run, for doing traffic stuff, how we run plates. So there's a lot of information that's coming back from this system. And for a police department to be shut off from that system, which they were denied access to that, they had to use another agency to pull data. Obviously, it's both good and bad, right? It's good because the Attorney General is taking a very hard and fast stance with that and saying, if you can't control your networks and your systems, then we're not allowing you access to ours because you're a security risk. But at the same time, this is then also hindering the operations of the police department and could potentially put officers' lives
Of
in
all the
risk for
wondrous
not being able
places
to
within
run
Darnassus,
a
which
suspect for
would you have me
warrants or
direct you to?
if they're on a call. So I see both sides of that coin, but they did eventually get granted access back after they could prove that they had done all of these upgrades.
With their network secure and redesigned and their access to the gateway network reinstated, things returned to normal. But it was certainly disruptive and costly for the police department to handle this incident. Nicole has since moved on from working with the Secret Service and is currently a security engineer, where she plans, designs, and builds network security architectures.
Cooking is a lifelong pursuit, and I see we share the same passion.
Big thank you to Nicole Beckwith for sharing this story with us. I have a link to her Twitter account in the show notes, and you should totally follow her. Hey, I just released the 9th bonus episode of Darknet Diaries. Currently, it's only available for Patreon users, but I am in the process of getting bonus content over to Apple Podcasts for paying subscribers there too. The latest bonus episode is about a lady named Mary who got a job as a web developer, but things went crazy there, which resulted in her getting interrogated by the FBI and facing prison time. To hear her story...
This was good.
I love a good spy story. It's so intriguing for me to think that someone among us might not be who we think they are. They're faking their name, their background, and their purpose, trying to get information of some kind. And it's always interesting to see what kind of methods these people use to communicate right in plain sight, but to the untrained eye, you have no idea that a message is being sent. Like, for instance, there's been times when spies would tie their shoelaces in a specific way to communicate certain things. So like if your shoelaces had extra knots in them, it could mean something like, don't approach me. Or if the shoe was tied with laces crossed over it or under it, that might mean, okay, all clear, come, give me the message. Or maybe if the shoe was untied, it means, you've been spotted, get out. And what's cool about this trick is you can have one message on one shoe and a different message on another. This way the person could send a different message depending on the situation. Like if one shoe said wait and the other shoe said all clear, the person could just put out their shoe that had the right message on it at the time and cover up the other shoe somehow, like by sitting on it or something. I love hearing about spy tricks and methods that they call tradecraft. And in this episode, we'll hear a story about a spy and how they operate.
Crazy.
These are true stories from the dark side of the internet. I'm Jack Resider. This is Darknet Diaries. This episode is sponsored by Exonius. Complexity is increasing in IT cybersecurity. Adapt to the demands of your modern environment with Exonius and say goodbye to manual asset inventory approaches. The Exonius solution provides an always up-to-date inventory, uncovers gaps, and automates action, giving you the solid foundation you need to stay dynamic in the face of complexity. Go to exonius.com/darknet to learn more and to get a demo. That's Exonius, spelled Axonius. Exonius.com/darknet. Okay, I don't even know where to start with this story. I've got so much tape here to play for you, it's crazy. In fact, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be able to fit it all in one episode, so this is just...
Thank you, FFXI Classic Guides, for the excellent content from my stream. I'd like to sub to your channel.
Next on the list, level 39 to 47. You can fish some Zafmlug. You can fish some Zafmlug bass, which will offer great skill ups, but cap at level 43. Use a halcyon rod with a worm lure in either Port Bastock or BBQ Bay at Sunset Docks. There are speculations that fishing them in town provides less skill ups, but these were never proven, so whichever is easier for you should work. They are pretty worthless, sadly, so just NPC them for some pocket change. Another more profitable alternative are the black eels in Zerwood Mines, using the same worm lure. These actually NPC for about 200 each, so they will provide good skill ups for you and some gil until level 47.
I'm supposed to be fishing in bass.
Moving on to level 47 to 55. Next on the list, bluetails will be your main target here using a halcyon rod and a minnow. These can be sent into sliced bluetail, which is used to fish up marlins. Moving on to level 47 to 55. Next on the list, level 39 to 47. You can fish some Zafmlug. You can fish some Zaflug bass, which will offer great skill ups, but cap at level 43. Use a halcyon rod with a worm lure in either Port Bastock or BBQ Bay at Sunset Docks. There are speculations that fishing them in town provides less skill ups, but these were never proven, so whichever is easier for you should work. They are pretty worthless, sadly, so just NPC them for some pocket change. Another more profitable alternative are the black eels in Zerud Mines, using the same worm lure. These actually NPC for about 200 each, so they will provide good skill ups for you and some gil until level 47. Moving on to level 47 to 55. Next on the list, bluetails will be your main target here using a halcyon rod and a minnow. These can be synthed into sliced bluetail, which is used to fish up marlins using the quest Inside the Belly, which can provide a pirate chart for the Mercurial Chris and fishing rings. The best location to fish those is anywhere that's not too crowded, with Buburima Peninsula being probably the most efficient. You can alternatively fish them in Poronorgo Isles at the docks, Batalha Downs, though they are not isolated, and you will also fish up some calamaris, which NPC for about 180 gil each. The bluetails themselves NPC for about 300 each, making them a prime target for both skill ups and some gil. Now level 55 to around 76. This range is kind of rough for fishing. One decent option you have here is El Shimo newts, which can be caught in the underground ponds under the outposts in Utunga Jungle using an Alskin rod and a frog lure. The big kicker for this one is that they don't stack, making them extremely annoying to sell for profit. These cap at level 60, so you could always just use the lure and toss the fish until you reach level 60, which kinda sucks in all honesty. Another option is crescent fish, which are caught using the Alskin rod along with a fly lure in the lake at Eastern Saruta Baruta. The kicker for this one though is that the lake is very crowded at the moment, and you will need a full fishing set along with advanced support from the fishing guild to make sure you avoid any failed attempts due to skill if your skill is below 56. Also, these have a chance to make your line snap, making you lose the lure in the process. This is where getting a Lushang might start to be appealing, but if you want to avoid the headache, just bring a few lures just in case. They do sell for over 400 gil each though, making them really decent for making gil. At 61, you can also start catching silver sharks in Batalha Downs using an Alskin rod along with meatballs. These will offer skill ups up to level 76, and it looks like their resale value have been nerfed pretty badly on the server to around 210 gil versus over 500 gil on other versions of the game. I'm not sure if this was a temporary nerf due to some exploits found early in the life of the server, so this might be up to change. Either way, the skill ups are worth it while offering a decent income at the same time. You can also normally fish mithril swords here, which NPC for great gil, but this has also been nerfed completely to the ground on the server again due to some exploits. Not sure if this will change in the future, but at the moment, you cannot reliably fish them, even with a Lushangs. Once you got a few levels with the sharks, you can now move to Bastor Breams, which cap at level 86, using an Alskin rod or a composite rod with shrimp lures. These can be fished in Port Bastock and Port Winders. The bite rate is absolutely terrible, and they have a chance of snapping your line, making you lose your lure. Lushangs will resolve the issue if you're willing to farm for it at this point. These can be sold to the auction house for sushi, but since the server is so new, if you're watching this on release, it's probably more efficient to just NPC them. Next on the list, Black Souls. These are a great option and can be fished as early as level 72 if you have Lushangs, using a Sinkin minnow anywhere in Fim Island, Batalha Downs, or Sarumu Champagne. Alcyon Rod can work, but you will have a chance of the line breaking. These NPC for some real cash though, around 700 gil each. This is where a lot of players will use the gil made here to really push towards Liu Shang's, which will pretty much be needed for the last few skill ups shown in this guide. Finally, armored Paishis can be fished in Olton Mavalpalos using a Frogler and your trusty Liu Shang's rod, or alternatively, a composite rod. These don't stack but sell for 900 gil plus for each catch. This is really the final stretch to cap your fishing to level 100. That's pretty much it for my fishing guide. Again, this would not have been possible without a lot of help from the community and a few veteran fishermen. I want to reiterate that this is a 1.0 version for fishing in Horizon, as I'm sure there's still much more to be discovered, and new strategies camps will probably be discovered over time. I still want to make sure to get this video out as soon as possible, as I know a lot of people have been scrambling for information or even following my older guide, which was Wings XI specific. If you have anything else to add and share with the group, please make sure to leave it down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this guide, you know what to do. Give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing to my channel for much more Horizon XI content coming real soon. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone, and happy fishing.
It was good. Red Terrapin and Nightwell. Red Terrapin and Nightwell from 39 to 43. Yeah. Red Terrapin sounds better to me, and it's not that bad of a journey. FFXI, Red Terrapin. It's a shame I can't use they're gonna make me buy another lure. The best one is Shellbug. Are you serious? Yeah, but with what though?
Greetings, young rogue. What do you seek?
I mean, yeah, I don't really need kick per se. How much energy is it? It's 25 energy. It's pretty good, though. Well, parry's more
Farewell.
defense, and that's better for my progression. On Mr. From Bastock. I mean, yeah. I'm not doing that. But I'm at 15k, which is good. I wanted to buy a worm lure, I did. Yeah, worm lure is actually, I think, the best skill up, yeah, for those. I wish it wasn't such a long walk. But I can't get skill up here. Yeah, Black Eel's vendor well, but I mean, I feel like I'm making more money here snagging teleports than fishing, so I think buying the worm lure was a mistake and I shouldn't have done it. Oh well. Now I have one in case I ever want one. Yep. It's weird how the fishing gear fits in the Mog wardrobe. Yep, now just try and snag tellies. I think is like it ends up paying for itself, especially if I can fish up like rings and stuff and disenchant them. This will take me back to Dalaran. I don't want to. I want to set at the inn. My leather working is currently 34 out of 75. My skinning is capped. So I need to see that vendor. They're going to charge me for that, which is kind of annoying. Oh, yeah.
Elun Adore.
Orange martial shirt. I am currently here to learn skinning.
Be careful.
Stamps.
Feel free to browse. The
Goddess
next
bless
week,
you.
5 silver,
Go
son
in
of a
peace.
bitch.
Elun be with you.
5 silver. I'll get it from these quests, but still. Oops, did not mean to run my evasion. Damn it.
It is my honor to provide for adventurers, for they are heroes in the making. A
I
friend
believe
of
I'll
mine,
buy another
Nessa
set of
Shadowsong,
axes.
is a fishing merchant in Ruttheran village. She needs a parcel taken to Darkshore and is looking for someone to help her. If you're interested, then to reach Nessa you must take the portal in Darnassus to Ruttheran village. You will find the portal west of the Temple Gardens.
Hmm. Okay. Shit, I've got to buy fishing gear too, which is expensive. It's like 40 grand or something. God, I went hard on this server when it first hit. It paid off, but man, I really feel like the BST levels are the best way. Later on, I can kill Auxiliaris for good loot. There are going to be 7 videos in this series, 14 hours today. It's longer than I usually do. Be harder to get up tomorrow, but yeah. Making good progress, but it's slow. Because playing 3 games is slow, but making good progress though. I'm back where I died again, but now I'll be much higher. Gonna keep grinding for more silver and stuff. Got improved daggers now, so it's gonna be much easier. Should buy a chest piece with stam on it. But also I'm strapped for money. All that training was like almost a gold. Go listen to... Let's see if there's anybody else has any other guides. Oh, there is a written guide here on MMO. God, that seems weird. Oh yeah, that's what they say. It's weird because he read boost? Wait, boost for what? He just grabbed some info and posted it on his website. It's funny. Why not? Yeah, but... Yeah, like... I'm looking... Let's just see what other people say. And he sat in Zero Mines for so long. I mean, it pays, but I think sitting here and slinging tellies is better. I missed a telly while I was reading about that, but yeah, I don't think there's like much other info here. I didn't see any secrets or anything. Yeah, it's actually a really good passive way to make money. Eventually, like, I do pull rings doing this, and I can disenchant them. It helps my goldsmithing. And I think the Nostal herring does sell. I think one of the stacks sells for like 4,600, I think. So it is a good way to make money while I wait for tellies to pop, but I should definitely cancel the cast to try and snag the tellies when I see them. Making money solo is I mean, making money period on this game is like the hardest thing I've ever done in any game. It's harder than Eve. 11 is not an easy one, like, to make the money fast. It's not easy. I guess this slow grind. I could run copper. Copper is a good way to make money that's really mindless. I could go home to Bastock here. Copper is a good way to make, like, copper is kind of a mindless way to well, I mean, I don't have that much fire though. Fire, I don't know what stacks of fire are right now, but if they're cheap, I could convert a lot of copper ingots. That is a viable thing. But I also, like, I guess I could do that here. There's nothing really stopping me from doing that here. Like, let's break down what it costs to just buy a fire crystal stack. Oh my god, they're so cheap. Why are the fires so cheap? Well, then, okay, materials for goldsmithing. Copper ingots right now. Sort by name. Goldsmithing, right? Is that something? Yeah, it is. Oops. Yeah, copper. Well, yeah. Oh, look, nobody's selling ore though. That's one of the reasons why this isn't that good. It's only good to like do for a little while. So, but copper ingots will go for 2,400, which is pretty good. It's a good goldsmith grind right now, actually. Like, what is that? That's 400. Yeah, it's like 500 and then 2,400 payout. Like, yeah, it's easy and definite. It's like pretty definite and fast. Probably more. Well, I don't know though. I'm level 7, and it's like pretty much like a whole sinkhole of money for a bit till you reach silver. Like the yeah, what am I at? I'm at 7 goldsmithing, which is like it's like a money sink. It's a pretty bad one. I could decent copper rings. I guess that's one way to do it. I could decent silver rings, I think. But it depends on how much lightning is. Let's go look at crystals and see if they're cheap. I don't think lightning is ever cheap. Yeah, see, lightning is off the hook. So, see, it's odd. But yeah, I feel like I could take, like, yeah, I feel like I could definitely, like, I don't know. What's my space right now? Yeah. Telly's dried up. Spiders. I wonder what spider webs go for, because I think I'm of the level now where I can kill spiders. Maybe not. I think you have to be like 28 for that, I think. But I'm just curious to see what they go for on this server, because spider webs are one of the ways I usually make my money. We'll go see. Sort. What do spider webs go for? It's a lot better when you're a thief. 23,500. Jeez. Slinging tellies during prime time. I guess that's what I should do. I should sit I should sit each day and try to earn 20k on during prime time. That's what I should do during prime time, is try to sling tellies. There's one. Trusted person. I get him? Yeah, I got him. Trusted person. Oops, I missed him. Nope, I missed him because I mistyped. This keyboard causes me to mistype all the fucking time. I need to double check what the input is. This guy Seraphim keeps snaking me. Damn it, I needed that one. I mistyped it. Oh well. Yeah. Yeah, like, what is Mocarp right now? Because that is, like, probably the best usage of my time, really. Yeah, why would I do anything but fish Mocarp all day, really? 3,200. They come pretty steady, too. I can just go right home to Bastock and fish up Mocarp, right?
Are you a new player on Horizon XI
Loud.
and struggling to make ends meet? Best and most versatile rod in the game. For this reason, they usually don't stay on the auction house for very long.
Oh
Whenever
yeah,
possible,
little
swap
worms.
the little worms for insect balls, as this will give you a much better chance of getting the carps, isolating them from the crayfish. Do this until you reach level 11, and don't forget to bring a carp to the guildmaster to increase your level cap to 20. Sell all the carps and use the profits made to purchase the fishing set. I want to emphasize here that carps will always be a decent source of income, and some of the later camps will provide you with skill ups, but provide a little less steady income source than the carps. If you need early gil, don't hesitate to fish them for as long as you need to get by. You can alternatively go to Knightswell in West Rompfor, which was the main camp I recommended on Wings XI, as the insect paste here will completely isolate the carps, but the popularity of this fishing spot might be an issue due to the fish population mentioned earlier in this video. Still a great fishing spot if you see it's not overly crowded. Level 11 to 19 kinda sucks in all honesty. The two main targets here are Qs, which cap at level 19, and Yellow Globes that will cap at level 17. Both can be caught with a bamboo rod, but
Yeah, I suppose the best money right there, if you can isolate at Nightwell, the best money really would be that, because then, like, pretty much every cast I'm getting, like, what is that, 300 gil or something like that. Yeah. And it's better than here. I'm not getting the skill ups. God damn it. And going higher, it doesn't pay better. There was a camp I used to go to a lot at 24. Merifatod. Because the Poltergeist drop Scroll of Regen, and that'll sell. So will everything else there. There's like a kitty. That's a good camp for 24. I'll probably do that tomorrow. Yeah, like, this is a good camp. I mean, it's good that I can fish here, that I haven't high enough level, because I can just, like, during prime time, I can just fish. Yep. Just fish. I want to look at what that guy's wearing. He's pulling up Yellow Globes, and I feel like that's good money. It's Yellow Globes. No, he's low. And it's Sabiki rig. I could catch Yellow Globes. What do they sell, though? Sort, damn it. Why are they... Oh, okay, here we go. 50 stacks of Yellow Globes. Not much at all. Nothing at all. That's really sad. Yeah. No, I know. Getting towards a stack of these two. I think between it's like 6k or something like that. Which isn't bad. It's just not good. It sucks to fish in the off hours. You don't make any money.
Grief, the forest mourns for Lady Sappho, but it was something that had to be done. Thank you, adventurer. Now you must finish the task to which you have been appointed. Take the spinnerets and offer Lady Sathra's sacrifice to a loon. Lay the great spider to rest. Inside this temple, find the central fountain. There is where you may leave the sacrifice. The holy waters will purify and cleanse the corruption that drove Sathra mad. When you have completed this, return to me.
%. 10 silver. That's a good turn on. Gonna get even more, hopefully. Go get the other thing I don't have. Kick. Kick would be nice. Kick would be very good.
The loss of Lady Sathra is distressing, but in this way only may she
That's
be
an upgrade.
reborn with a renewed spirit. May a loon willingly accept the sacrifice that you have offered her.
Cool. And, yep, they didn't get anything else, but I got a pair of boots. That's good. Now I'm supposed to go to Ruth Theron. But honestly, I'd rather stick around and kill things here for tomorrow. Until I have... Well, I'll go get Kick, because that'll help with a lot of caster mobs. Cheaper way to stop those spells. Yeah, I can't have E be Kick anymore, which is kind of annoying. I might actually put it back on my normal button. I don't really need tab target anymore, so I think I'm gonna change the keybinds now and get used to it more often. So options, keybinds for miscellaneous like map or no interface panel for toggle toggle world map. Middle mouse is the current one, but I want tab. Yeah, I don't need tab for that. Yep. And then finally, I want my Kick to be whatever I bind it to. Yeah, and I'll bind Kick to middle mouse, which is what I usually use for it. That guy catching Black Soul's making the real money, but I mean, it's still slow. Fishing is really bad for the stream. It's really fucking slow. They say go to Root Theron, but I don't really believe it. I think I've got another at least level and a half here. I could look at jugs. I think I'm stuck with the crabs or whatever, but the jugs would be helpful. They don't decharm if they're cheap. I think you can buy them from the vendor, I'm fairly sure. Because they didn't want the market controlling that.
Peace be with you.
Yeah, looks good to me.
Go in peace. What brings you here?
Put this away for now. Well, I'm gonna vendor them, I guess, and put that away for now. Yep. I guess I'll go learn that. I'll go learn Kick because I need it. Fucking annoying to run back to that vendor over and over and over again, but I didn't get the money all at once. This stream will end in 15 minutes. Oh, yep, press the enter. Oops, yep. Am I going to the right place? Yeah, I think so. I am tired. So tired. Get rested here. Shit, did I send? I didn't set my fucking thing. It's so annoying. That's the next thing I'll do. I got spacey and I forgot it. Kevin Spacey.
Greetings, young rogue. What do you seek? Good luck, friend.
Nice, that saves some silver, that's good. And now we have kick, which is good. Kick. Put that right there, and we will say keybinds, kick. Cool, we can stop those spellcasters now, that's good. Oh, I gotta set my hearth again. Fuck, I gotta do this. Keep forgetting. I don't want to go back to Dalinar ever again. I'm done there. I could get my fishing done here. The training is something that I could do. Not sure I did that either. I'll have to do that. Oh, I lost it. All these people are... Excuse me. All these... Excuse me. All these people are fucking like pulling Black Souls only. Man, I'm jealous. I wish I could get my work from Wings and Nozomi. So annoying.
Your body looks worn and your spirit weary. Rest yourself beneath our roof and allow Elune to guide your dreams.
Yep, I will hang around this place until tomorrow. Oh, sorry, yeah, I'm sorry, tomorrow I will hang around this place while I do Beastmaster stuff and Rust stuff and Rust Butt stuff. And, oh, you want me to go back in here? Yeah, no, there's something else I didn't do. Oh, no, you want me to leave, huh? So, oh, yeah, doesn't it make you run back in again? Until it wants me to leave, I'm not going to. I'll just keep following the chain, because the most XP I can get from it right now is I'm sorry, the most XP I can get is from him right now. There are game logs. Did he get taken? He might have game logs. I lost him. Yeah, I wasn't paying attention, damn it. Damn it. Let's see. Screw it. Somebody will get him. I'm gonna put these things away just because I don't want to deal with them right now.
Greetings. Go in peace.
Yeah, I definitely didn't train stuff like kick before I went there before. Also, I can get like another 2 levels, I think, before the XP totally falls off. But I would like to. Make everything feel like it's too easy. Oh, here's yeah, the fisherman. That's good. That saves me some time. Oh yeah, they want me to fish, I think, don't they? Yeah.
Yes, I have need of a courier who will take a package to Darkshore. Will you help me? The fishermen of Ruth Theron village do very well, for the fish here are extremely large and abundant. I would like to compare the bounty here with that of the mainland.
5
I
silver,
have a
damn
collection
it.
of fish bones and scales that I would like taken to a colleague of mine in Darkshore. His name is Laird. He is a fish vendor in the village of Alberdeen. Bring my collection to our hippogriff master, Vespristus, and speak to him about traveling to Alberdeen.
I want to go into that one place. I wish there was an achievement system in this, but there's not, so it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what quests you do. I guess I'll follow their lead. This is a good place for it to end, Darkshore, I guess. Feels like we're moving forward.
You wish to get this to Oberdeen? Very well. From Rutheren, there are two methods of travel to Oberdeen. By ferry and by hippogriff. Both are quick and reliable, but if you have not yet flown to Oberdeen by hippogriff, then I suggest you do. It is sound advice to speak with the hippogriff master in every town that has one. Once you speak to the master, you can then fly there from other towns. Here is Nessa's collection. Speak with me again when you're ready to fly to Oberdeen and deliver Nessa's collection to Laird.
Damn, it's late. It's like 3 in the morning. I'm ready to stop this now in 5 minutes. Stop that. Stop it. I'm gonna do better this time and not go like AFKing through the woods, because the woods is real. Grind here and do some work here on the beach.
I'm listening. Good luck.
Do I want to set in Darnassus? No, because I can just teleport back to Darnassus. No, the turn-in is here. I want
Your body looks worn and your spirit weary. Rest yourself beneath our roof and allow Elune to guide your dreams. Majestic sea creatures are known to launch themselves at the Darkshore coastline, beached there until they die. Lately, these beasts have been washing ashore in ever-increasing numbers. I've been sent here by the Temple of the Moon to investigate, but the presence of murlocs along the water has made my research difficult. There is a giant creature washed ashore just south of Oberdeen that is ringed by the foul gray mist murlocs. Could you go there and retrieve bones from the creature for our study?
A package from Nessa. Thank you, adventurer. She told me she would send me samples of the fish caught near Rutheren village. She thinks they may be very different from the fish caught here. My, this jawbone is nearly twice the size of the same fish found here. And these scales are as big as a closed fist. Amazing. I must send a response to Nessa. She'll be very interested to know how different the fish here are from those along Teldrassil's coastline. We can
the quests
only
start to
guess
get
the
better.
cause, but it is my suspicion that the world tree itself is affecting the wildlife around it. Please take this response to Nessa. If you wish to take a hippogriff back to Rutheren, then speak with the hippogriff master, Kalis Moonfeather. If you wish to take the ferry, then one regularly departs from the dock to the northwest.
Hey, help me with my latest invention, the BuzzBox. You can talk to people far away. Maybe you've already seen them. They're boxes with levers on them. The only problem is they need constant maintenance. Each one suffers from a different problem, but I made a really smart decision. I placed each one near creatures that have the proper parts to fix that particular machine. Right now, BuzzBox 827 is on the Fritz. It's just south of Oberdeen, real close. It takes 6 crawler legs to fix it. I'll pay you heat. I came to Oberdeen because of the quiet. I want to invent my inventions where it's quiet, because after a night of drinking, I don't like all the noise of Ironforge. So I took a ship to Oberdeen and had a little too much to drink on the way. I dropped my box of gaffer jacks overboard. I need my gaffer jacks. I don't know exactly where I dropped them, but if you fish for them in the ocean, you might get lucky.
A sickness spreads across the dark shore, gripping the minds and bodies of all it touches. The thistlebears have been hit the hardest by this plague. The once noble beasts are now an instrument of destruction, rabid and frenzied. I may have a cure for this ailment. Take this trap to the forest and lay it on the ground. Any rabid thistlebear that crosses the light shall become docile for a short time. Once the bear is docile, it shall follow you. Lead it back here, adventurer. Some of my brethren were rescued from a corrupt furbog in Teldrassil, and I vowed to stop any more atrocities before more of our kind are injured. Or worse. I've seen a couple hints of corruption in Darkshore already, but I have yet to find any widespread signs. I think it would be logical if the investigation continued with the Furbogs. Would you find one of their camps and return to me if you see any signs of corruption?
I love fishing. The Blump family is known for fishing. My name is Gubba Blump. I fish. There's a kind of fish I like to catch around these parts called Darkshore grouper. I used to go out on a boat to fish for grouper, but no boats have been going out since them mean old Murlocs moved in. I bet they've been eating up all the grouper too. Say, you want to help me catch Darkshore grouper? I'd give you a bona fide Blump family fishing pole if you did. It's a real good pole to catch fish with.
Okay, so this is where I'm going to end the stream, guys. We are at 13 hours and 58 minutes and 40 seconds. It has been a wonderful day. Got a lot done. Got a lot of World of Warcraft, a lot of Final Fantasy 11, a lot of New World, and a lot of Rust done. Not so much Rust, but all the other ones, yeah. And here is where we log for the night. Thank you so much for your time, guys. I love you very much. Thank you for hanging around me and watching my stream all day, and I really appreciate it. And we're going to pop real quick to my website before this video ends here. I am not an affiliate of YouTube yet, but I am of Twitch, and so if you wish, please come and donate to skycat.live, skycat.live. Come click on the cat's face to donate. And thank you so much for the wonderful, support of my stream. And I could always use, the help. And thank you so much for spending the day with me. Got a lot done today. So tomorrow I'll be back for a good Saturday session. Going to go pretty hard, but it's got to end here. So thank you so much for your time, guys. And yep, at 13:59 and 45 seconds, this stream ends in 15 seconds. At 14 hours, 7 videos will be going on my stream tomorrow. And with that, I'm going to say bye. I love you. Bye.